sponsors Indica Cream, Ramraj, Mritu Towels, presents Galatta Thug Life Celebrations. Powered by Prithvi Innovias, The Chennai Silks, Darling, Surya Books, Jai Chandran. Associate Partner, Inno6.
In Tirda Tirda, we had this song Rasati,
Yeah.
which is really, really beautiful. But I thought that it didn't fit into the film. I told him, I think the moment that my film copy is out, I let it go.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, happens. What possibly bothered me was Anjali. If a film doesn't do well, the next film comes out faster. I'm not joking. That's what I do.
That's what happens.
Films are made for a group, to enjoy together in a dark room,
Last two questions. Based on
Take Kamal sir, for example. He's been there for this many years. He single-handedly held Tamil cinema, along with the directors high up.
Right.
It's not a fair share of dawns. It's an unfair share of dawn that I've got. But you have no choice. Last time I met him, he told me that you complained to him that I'm cutting off all the songs.
I told him.
So it's not correct for you to go and do that. Makes my life difficult.
Title sponsors Indica Cream, add color to your life. Ramraj Mridu Towels, super soft, super absorbent. Galatta presents Thug Life Celebrations. Powered by Prithvi Innowares. Prithvi Innowares, your perfect partner. The Chennai Silks, let the celebrations begin. Darling AC Tiruvizha, India Vilaye Miga Kurainda Mada Tavanayil AC. Surya Guides, Surya School Guides for all classes. Jayachandran, Kurainda Vilai Nirainda Taram Tangal Tevegal Anithum Ore Idathil Jayachandran. Associate sponsor Inno6, Bharat Next Gen Crypto Exchange. I know your music, you love music, we've listened to M.S. Vishwanathan, we've listened to Ilayaraja, we've listened to early Rahman, like Chinna Chinna Asai, right up to Adagiye, Kaatuveli, where the songs are like catchy, like Kadal, Mungil Totam, whatever. Like the songs they work within the context of the movie beautifully, but they also like exist as somebody on the street can easily hum them. That has been the tradition of Indian film music, I would say, not just Tamil or whatever, but Indian film music. But I feel that from maybe, I don't know exactly when they started, but CCV maybe, I don't know, because the songs are predominantly in the background, that hummability aspect, that easy hummability aspect rather, has kind of come down, and the soundscape or the texture of that has kind of gone up. Do you miss the part of you that says, Rahman, give me another Chinna Chinna Asai, or give me another Adagiye, I want a catchy song here? That you don't do that anymore?
Not that you're going to ask him, don't give me catchy tunes. It's not that. It is what is right. See, for example, CCV or this, for example, are films that are, in a different world, and there is no, in my opinion, it's very difficult for me to find a place where there will be a gentle melody that can float in. The pacing of the film, the rhythm of the film kind of dictates how much you can, and what kind of pace that you can take with the song. So you're looking for something that will enhance the film and not just song. No, the song should work for the film and not the other way around. So the narrative is important, and Rahman is one person who understands it fully.
Right.
Last time I met him, he told me that you complained to him that I'm cutting off all the songs.
I told him.
So it's not correct for you to go and do that. Makes my life difficult. But he's one person who understands. He knows that the film is more important than anything else. It's just that sometimes the melodies are so good that I can't leave it. Not able to let go of it. But if I put it in, it should not, bring the film down, or it should not bring the song down. So
no, I completely understand one level of what you're saying, which is like the song becomes an extension of the film's narrative texture. So if this is like a hard-hitting film, I want that song to have one power, one edge, one kind of unexpected texture to it rather than like a flowing melody kind of thing. I get that, but I'm talking about the other part of it. Like, when like earlier people were like, oh, okay, I've seen the movie, it works and all that, but then I'm also carrying the song home, and I'm listening to it over and over again when I'm driving or whatever it is. Does that element no longer interest you?
No, it interests me, but it should be at the not at the cost of the film. I mean, I'll tell you an example. Um, in Trida Trida, we had this song Rasati,
Yeah.
which is really, really beautiful. But I thought that it didn't fit into the film. I told him and Vairamuthu that we'll save it up for the next one. It's too good a song. The characters have not reached that kind of emotion. The way it was written and the way it was, recorded, just was something else. But we also felt that maybe the album needs it, that kind of, it's got a variety and needs that. And till today, I think that, that film didn't deserve that song, So it still could have been done so beautifully as a song. So that is the problem, I
Right.
mean, you get something which is melodious, which is very good. You can't keep it, nor can you let it go. And therefore, it kind of becomes a balance. It doesn't do the help the song too much. It doesn't help the film too much. So you have to be careful. I mean, it's there till today. It becomes a problem with him because he gives you something which is very, 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 very exciting. But to find a place and fit it in becomes more and more difficult.
So, but is there also one part of you that is like, okay, we've done all this, we've done the China China Asif, we've done this. Like, how do I redefine the song in the context of a movie? Is that also part of your thing? Because I know you keep pushing certain elements of your screen. Is this also part of that experiment?
I don't push as much as he does.
Okay.
Rahman does the pushing. He doesn't want to fall back on something which is convenient. He listens to the thing and he searches for the kind of feel. And then we, go through the tunes and then see which will work. And then we try permutation, combination. And then we find a way in.
Okay.
So it is Rahman pushing, the edges.
Right.
He is not ready to settle for the normal thing. He wants something different and, if possible, far away from what we've done before.
So when you first heard Sugar Baby, what was the instant thought like in your mind?
Whose song is it? What has he done? But I think he understood the film more than I did. I think at that stage, the film was in the formative stage at that time. I think he picked the thing that will go well with the world that I was doing. So it and only when some songs work best with the film.
Yeah.
Not necessarily separately, best with the film. Kind of sets it up. And this is one such song. It helps the film, it helps the narrative, it kind of brings the world in a for kind of a musical way,
Right.
not necessarily the harsh way. It kind of brings those elements together.
Now, whether it is this song, the picturization of this song, or whether with the cages and all the traps and this and that, which I'm not even getting into the levels of where it goes into that kind of thinking, but or in PS1 where you have the Devaralanatam, and it's like this incredibly choreographed thing that's happening it's a kind of establishing who the antagonists of this world
Yeah.
are probably going to be. How do you consistently, in the music space alone, push that and keep pushing that and keep pushing that and keep pushing that? Because at the end of the day, it's choreography. But
Yeah.
somehow your choreography feels so much different from other choreography, which I also enjoy. I also like watching films where there's a very good dancer hero and they're doing good steps, and the backup dancers are also doing good steps. But these almost are, again, that surreal zone, I guess, a little bit like that. What is your process there?
See, for example, in Devarala Natam in Ponniyin Selvan, if you read that sequence, which the way Kalki has written, it's just amazing. It brings a kind of a high and to capture it on film. I
Right.
was wondering how we'll ever be able to do it. But when we had gone composing, you know, to Bali,
Okay.
and there we heard this chants,
Yeah.
Bali chants of Hanuman and things like that. And it just fell into place, I mean, he just picked that flavor and he said that we can make it that. And the sound is so different. I think it's both the idea of what kind of thing is required and what Rahman brings into it comes in place. And then the choreographer is pushed, is excited to do something completely different.
Right.
I think the music gives them the space and the style which is not necessarily conventional. So I think it's a combination. That's how it kind of evolves.
But you're there throughout the choreography and all that.
Yeah, it's my job.
No, I mean, it's like sometimes you can just depute it and come back and no.
No, I think it's not just choreography, it's how it's captured on film.
Right.
What the shots are going to be, which is going to be at the long, which is going to be top, and how do you move the camera. So it's not just choreography, it is filmmaking.
Right.
So you have to have a style which goes with the rest of the film.
Right. In a way, your career reminds me of this Woody Allen film Stardust Memories, where he plays a filmmaker and people keep asking him, I know you're changing, but you want to do different things, but I wish you kept making your earlier, funnier films. But this is an artist who's trying to evolve. So when somebody says, MR, I wish you would do the Maunaragam kind of film again, because that pretty much defined what the Mani Ratnam film was, right? Early on. Not now, but early on. What is your answer?
What did Woody Allen say in the film?
He didn't say anything.
He didn't say, okay, I'll follow Woody Allen.
No, but seriously.
Yeah, it's a question that's been asked quite a few times.
Right.
When I met Balchandra, I asked him, I liked earlier films. How come that you're not doing it? It's just as a follower, you tend to answer the question.
Sorry to interrupt, but even Rahman has been asked this question.
Correct. That's why I was coming to. Yeah. So it is question, but the thing you start doing that, they'll get tired of you very fast, I feel. So you have to be a genius to be able to do the same thing in different forms. You have to be a chaplain to have the same character and do multiple classics with it. If you're not a genius, best is to move away from it and try something more.
Right. Do you read reviews, not necessarily critics' reviews, but do you actively go out and try to get a sense of what people are saying about this film, what are they liking about this film, what are they not liking about this film?
I think the moment that my film copy is out, I let it go.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, happens. So I try not to go to the screens. I used to do before, but I've stopped going.
You used to?
Yeah.
Like see audience reaction and all?
Till Maunaragam maybe.
Oh.
Till Roja maybe. But then it's a very difficult time. You're very anxious. I remember going for my first film and standing in the theater and watching the first show, and you change completely. As a filmmaker, you want the film to go fast to the next highlight, to the next highlight, to the next highlight, and if the reaction of a laughter comes half a second late, you feel that something's wrong. That is too anxious viewer. So slowly I've learned to withdraw from it, but you get a sense of what works, what didn't work, and where possibly I've not communicated it well enough, and what I could possibly understand. You have to learn something from it. It's up to you to understand what it is. The way I look at it is that if I get a sense, and if that thing is already inside me that I didn't recognize, I knew that this was, but I'd kept it covered. No, those are things I can, quickly take away as a feedback.
Right. There's a bit of a dichotomy, right? Like a lot of people say Iruvar is your best work and it's a great film and it's been recognized a lot. But at the same time, at the box office, it's not working. So do you say I went wrong with Iruvar, or so many people are saying this is so great, so something must have gone right with it?
No, it depends on how you want to measure. That is a film that I wanted to make, and maybe it's not perfect, but that's what I wanted to make. And I think that's a film that kind of changed me as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
The way I look at films and things like that. I know how I would have made it a few years back, or if I was doing a fictional story, and this kind of taught me to make it more real, more, less of, highs and lows, and more, unpredictably to the whole narrative. So I think to me, it is a very important film for me. It kind of, pushed me into a next level. But you have to take a step back and make sure that you're taking audience with you, and kind of hit a balance.
And that's the lesson. That is, I know I'm not saying Iruvar is wrong, but I have to make Iruvar in a way that it goes to the audience. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily. Yeah, in the sense, if that is what my motive is, what my intention is. I should speak a language that they understand.
Right.
Speak it in a way. Some films I will not be able to because the thought that I want to say may not convert, like it may not convert so easily because I didn't want to take it into a dramatic, evil, good and bad, two thick friends who become bad enemies. No, it was not that. What appealed to me was, the fluidity of the entire thing. So on the thought level, you have to see where it will fit in. When I did Kannathil Muttamittal, I can't expect it to do, what Alepaide does.
Yeah.
It's a different film, so you have to pitch it at that kind of a plane. But I've come here to try those things. So if I have a success, that's when I can try something away from the conventional. So you kind of, sidestep a few things.
So when you talk about Kanathil Muthamedal, do you also have this thing that I have to be practical with Alepaide? I think it'll reach this level of success. Whereas a slightly more serious film like Kanathil, I think I'll be happy if it reaches this level of success. Do you do those mental?
No.
No.
First of all, when I did Alepaide, I didn't know which level of success it
Yeah,
will do.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
till it comes out, you don't know.
But you know that it's a subject that's going to appeal to a lot of people.
I wish we all knew. Then we'd pick only those subjects. We won't do anything else. The thing is that you think everything will have an appeal, and therefore it is. And only thing that I'm trying to, say is that if your previous film is successful, then you have a little liberty to try something slightly different in the next film. You can afford to take that risk, and that is the only way I think you can pull audience with you, the way you want to grow. So that is what it gives you. It gives you a liberty to take one extra step with the next film.
Right. But did OK Kanmani come after Kadal?
Okay, Kanmani came after Kadal.
Right. So that's a film that does not do well. But you're not saying, let me do a very easy love story. You're still saying, I want to get into this live-in space, which you never know. Again, right? You never know, right? It's like you're not still saying, I will do something light and fluffy and easy, but you're still trying to get that into a zone which is not a very typical zone. That's what I'm like.
No, it's
That's you.
yeah, you have to do it that way. I mean, all my films have been in a sense that way. Some of that, what I'm trying to say is, some of them have worked well, and therefore it gives you a chance to go more than that.
Okay.
Otherwise, you come back to the level which is, and even then, I didn't know Okay Kanmani will work, how well it'll work. Didn't know Chekka Chivandamanam, how well it'll work. I thought Kadal will work very well. So I can be totally wrong.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to take those steps.
Right. Given the fact that you've tasted blockbusters like Agni Nakshatram and other movies like Alepaide and all that, and you've also had your fair share of like films that did not do well. I guess by now there's a bit of a slightly zen way in which you approach it, or does it still hurt when a film doesn't do well?
It's not a fair share of downs. It's an unfair share of downs that I've got. But you have no choice. If you are willing to accept the praise that they give you when it does well, and you have to take the brickbats when it doesn't do well. So you have to learn from it and, move on. That's all. There's no point in, clinging on to something. And whether something really bothered me when it didn't do well, not maybe few films, maybe my first film, Pallavi and Pallavi, okay. Maybe, but not too much. But I knew that I'd done a film I didn't know. What possibly bothered me was Anjali, and I didn't think, I thought that will be, something which will be. It was a special film. It was about child, and I'm trying to bring that into the mainstream, and I thought I'd found a way to bring it into mainstream. So that is the only thing that, I felt, down after the film didn't do well. I was not even here. I got to hear about it and felt bad. But it was for a day.
But after that, you just learned to cut off.
You have no choice.
Yeah, no, but some people, you may want to do something, but you may not be able to do it. That's the two separate things.
Yeah.
You are able to do it.
I think I'd move faster. If a film doesn't do well, the next film comes out faster. I'm not joking. That's what I do.
That's what happens?
Yeah.
Right. So when you say the success of Anjali, is it also because Maunaragam, Nayakan, Agni Natchatram, all of these films, Gitanjali, all of these, you've got 4 blockbuster or like big performing movies right after one another. And that's also when you establish yourself, you're a star, done this path breaking stuff. Is that also part of the reason why you thought maybe
Maybe it was true. I'd started off with the films that were not doing well with Pallavi and Pali. So I was used to, not having a big hit. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is because of those 4 films and then this came. But I also think I like the film especially, and so therefore I feel that, I should have done it correctly.
I think you did it well.
Yeah.
I mean, especially I think the way you and Madhu Ambat did the lighting for that movie was spectacular. I thought it was like, but anyway, conversely, is there any film success that made you feel especially, I mean, success is always happy making, but is there any film that you felt, damn, I'm so glad this film worked? It's just like, is that something, is there a film that made you do that?
Yeah, both PS1 and PS2. I think they were something which I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm so happy that both of them were such a big success, and it brought in people who had not been to cinema for a long, long time, back to the thing, and the warmth that we are able to share with people who've seen the film is tremendous. You feel good about it.
So that was a big
Yeah.
high in your thing. Right? Ram Gopal Verma keeps saying, I always love watching, either talking to him or watching what he says because he's always so interesting. He says, if you notice, I keep making the same movies that I saw as a child. Sound of Music becomes Rangila. Exorcist becomes Booth. Sarkar becomes Godfather. A child as a young adult or whatever it is. So, and I thought about it and I'm like, wow, yeah, that's like, so you have the musical Ram Gopal Verma films, you have the gangster films, and you have the horror films. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Is there anything that you keep returning to like that?
I think everything, somewhere whatever you've seen, whatever you read, it kind of defines what output is going to be. I think I've been influenced strongly by several filmmakers, by several films. Unlike the way he says that it's not a direct translation,
yeah.
but it seeps in.
Yeah. I think he's also talking about the flavor or whatever. Yeah.
No, but I understand what he's saying. It is. But he's able to draw a nice, clean line. I'm not able to draw a line like that. But I accept that there will be, what you've grown up liking, especially in your formative period, when you fell in love with cinema, whatever you consume them become very, those were the doors through which you understood cinema.
Right.
Those were the shots that you really was, it gave you a high. Those are the moments or images or, thought that, change the way you're thinking. So they will find some way or other into your film. Sometimes when I finish a shoot for a day and return in the car, I suddenly think, oh my God, the shot that I was very happy that I took was from some other film that I'd seen before. So it is there. You don't even realize that it has come out in a different form.
Yeah.
So it is definitely, a reflection of what you have grown up on.
Right. Today there are a lot of actors, maybe today's youngsters will call them boomers, but whatever it is, but they all talk about this with a bit of sadness about what is inevitable, which is the fact that movies are largely being seen on phones. The DOP spends so much time lighting up a set and trying to make every nook and corner look perfect, and the director does so much work, and the production designer does all this, and you reduce it to this. Of course, on one hand, nothing can be done about it. That's the way the world is going. But do you also have that regret that this is like, I wish more people would see it in the theater and see exactly the way it was meant to be?
I think not only just the way it was meant to be, I think the joy of a collective viewing.
Yeah.
The films are made for a group, to enjoy together in a dark room, that is what I really feel that you lose when you're watching it on a small screen at a private time. It is not a collective, it's like a concert that you go
Yeah.
to, which gives you something else, like a rock concert that you go with so many people screaming and shouting, singing along. Whereas the same song you listen at home on your headphones, song is still the same.
Yeah.
But, there's a different experience. That's why we still seek going back to the, I think the same will be with the theatre also. I think right now we still have people in Tamil, for example, coming to the theatres and watching it
Yeah.
together. So it is, and they enjoying it all together.
Yeah.
So I think that joy is something special.
Special. Okay. My last two questions. Based on an interview that you gave, I thought two aspects of this interview were beautifully reflective. You know, it's just like this was just after Kanatil Mutamital. The first one I'll read out. Iruvar was really about idealism when you are young and fresh. You have nothing and you have nothing to lose. You get corrupted as you become successful. At some point, you switch off and ask, what happened to my idealism? You move on, but you have to constantly look back to see where I was and is this where I want to go? Is this the kind of film I want to do? You know, this is like after you've really established yourself and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is a beautifully reflective thing. Are you still that idealist? Do you feel that? Have you lost that a bit? Because I thought I never looked at Iruvar that way. Like, I mean, obviously at a subtextual level, it is about success corrupting and all. We know that, right? It's like
Yeah.
they like, for example, that scene where Mohanlal and Prakash meet at a wedding. There's one beautiful line where he says, you know, we shouldn't be seen too close to each other, something
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
equivalent of that, right? Because we're supposed to maintain an image kind of a thing. What has Maniratnam lost along the way, do you feel?
You lost a lot of things. You gained a few things.
Right.
Okay. The thing is that once you enter the game, once you enter the fray, then there is success. You know, you have to keep that. That success is what lets you do the next film.
Right.
Take Kamal sir, for example. You know, I mean, he's been there for this many years. He's managed to do Sagalakallavan on one side and Pushpak on another side. He's managed to, he's not lost himself. He will do this, but he'll keeps coming back to, you know, cinema, which is, he single-handedly held Tamil cinema, you know, along with the directors high
Right.
up.
Right.
So I think that is what you learn. There is, I mean, I am doing popular cinema. It has to work. But the success should not bind you too much. You should still be aware of it and still see whether you can take one step, you know, more than what you did for the last film. That's why I was saying that if you have a previous film which is a big success, you have the liberty to experiment a little bit the next film. Whereas when you start off, you have, I mean, you can be absolutely blind. I can think of doing a film about anything and blindly think it'll work.
Yeah.
But practically, you know that you've established, you know, when Virat Kohli goes out to bat, we expect him to score every time.
Yeah.
You know, you can't help it. That's how we are. So you should know that as a filmmaker, there's expectations out of you, but you should not be caught fully into that. Aware of it and see whether you can step out of it and still retain what you came in here for.
And that what you came in here for is
It's not a fixed thing.
okay.
It-
But largely speaking, would it be working in the mainstream but still trying to make a particular kind of movie? Would that be right?
Yeah, working within mainstream definitely, but trying to make something which is sensible, which is can, you know, evolve, can move closer to the kind of film that you like,
Yeah.
to world cinema, you know. That's all. I mean, what I like as a viewer is way above what I'm making as a maker. So if I can move one step closer towards what I like, I don't know whether I'll ever be able to reach what I like. As a viewer, I'm more evolved than a maker. So all you try to do is take one step more or two steps more towards it.
Right. And the second bit and the last thing I want to ask you is again, something that you have said in the same interview. I don't know whether my fear of failure is greater now. I want to ensure we have a chance to make better films. You try something different, but if it fails, that stops not only you, but others too from attempting something different. What you do has to be positive, push filmmaking in that direction. If you're making a sensitive film, it should bring more sensitive film into the field. I should not close the doors both to myself and to others. I thought this was also a beautiful point. But can a filmmaker really put this kind of pressure on himself? That is, if I do this film and if this film does not work, then I can never do a film like this again. And I'm also closing the doors to others who want to make this kind of films. Isn't there too much pressure for a filmmaker?
It's not necessary you should think. It is a practically that's what will happen. You
Right.
know, I mean, if the other opposite is also true. if you try, if you do a Padnar Vaidinle, you know, and it becomes such a big success, it opens doors for so many other
Yeah,
people
yeah.
to get into, you know, making rooted films.
Yeah.
So this reverse also works that way. If you try pushing it the other way and the door closes, then the next person will be hesitant. He has to knock it, he has to kick it open. It makes it a little more difficult. Not the end of the world, but it just makes it a little more difficult. You should be aware of it, that is all. I'm not saying no. I want the door open, that's why I want to go in. You know, if it shuts it carefully, I know that I'm pushing it maybe by 6 months for the rest of them to push it open.
But ultimately, it will.
It will open.
it will-
I think there are new voices keep coming, and they're coming different ways and different shades. So they will open. Nothing. I mean, you can't close anything permanently by your mistakes.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
there'll always be a way out.
But yeah, that's a very, very positive note to end this on. Thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you, and all the best for Thug Life.
Thank you. Need it. Thank you.
Title sponsors Indica Cream, Ramraj, Mritu Towels presents Galatta Thug Life Celebrations. Powered by Prithvi Innovias, The Chennai Silks, Darling, Surya Books, Jai Chandran. Associate Partner, Inno6.